and welcome to Tim Connolly Drums. Well, I have a very interesting band story for you today. Honestly, some of the things that have happened to me over the years, I just can't make this shit up. It's out of a movie, some of the stuff that's happened to me over the years of working as a professional musician. So I'm going to tell you this band story. And it's unbelievable that this happened, but it actually did happen. We got to go back probably about 17 or 18 years. And I was playing in a band, and I was a hired hand in the band, or a hired gun in the band. I was not I wasn't running the show. I didn't really have much say. I was just told what to do. Okay, fair enough. I've done lots and lots of those kind of gigs. So the band was actually called Sexy Dave and the Hot Sauce. And it was out of Burlington, Ontario, as I recall. That's where the band was out of. So I got hired into the band. I auditioned, I got hired, and we were rehearsing, and it was a lot wide variety of material, but a lot of dancier type stuff. Okay, so we start getting gigs and everything's fine. We're rehearsing, gigging, everything seems fine, and then we start getting bigger gigs, and we get this gig in Barrie. And it was at a very large venue, actually. Large in the sense that it was a very popular bar scene venue. And it housed, I can't remember the name of the venue, but if you're from Barrie, Ontario, and you know what I'm talking about, it was the most popular bar in Barrie, and it was huge. I can remember when you came in the front door, it was almost like a giant hallway which led into a very large room with a huge stage, and the band would be up there on that stage. Like I said, I can't remember the name of it. So if you're from Barrie, or you're a fellow musician that played this venue in Barrie, you'll know the one I'm talking about, because it was very popular, 17, 18 years ago. So we get this gig, and it's a pretty high profile gig for a relatively new band. Now, the guy that was the Sexy Dave character in the band, he was the band leader. And the Hot Sauce was, bass, drums, guitar, keyboard. I believe he played lead guitar, and there was a rhythm player. Yeah, so it was like a 5-piece. Anyways, so we go and we, do this gig. And this guy, Dave, that was actually his name, but I only played in the band for a short period of time, and when you hear this story, you'll find out why. We're playing this gig, and so just imagine, especially if you're playing in a band, if you've ever played in a band, just imagine when singers do this. So you're playing, and you do your intro, you do the first verse, and then at the end of the first verse, I start to set up the drum fill to go into the chorus. As I'm doing that, the guitar player singer decides he's going to do a double verse, but he doesn't tell any of us. So here we are. I set up, I go into the chorus. I think we're in the chorus. I don't remember what the song we were playing was, because it happened on every song. It drove me insane. And I don't understand even where this came from. He just started changing up the songs in the heat of the moment on this particular gig. He just decided, he would just do whatever he wanted to do. Now, I've played in many bands where that happens, but there's signals. There's signals, people. And the signals are common signals. So if we do this, that means we're going to go to the head of the tune. So that's the top of the tune. Okay? Everybody knows that, no problem. Some of the other signals are, if you see somebody do this, any kind of this motion like this, that means you're going to the bridge. Bridge section, no problem. Awesome. When we are going to go to guitar solo, you're going to see somebody do this. If it's a keyboard solo, you're going to see somebody do this. So you know, there's always a sort of a guitar player or a keyboard player, sometimes the bass player, but usually it's the guitar player or keyboard player that kind of leads things and throws these signals out so that you know where we're going. If we're going to go to a section where the dynamics drop, then you've got this signal. Okay? If the dynamics are going to rise, you got that signal. So you've got signals that you play with in bands. There's many, many others. Sometimes bands make signals up. I mean, these are just signals that I was accustomed to. So I was getting no signals, and I was just doing the tunes the way that I learned them, the way that we rehearsed them, and all hell breaks loose on this gig. This was one of the worst gigs I ever played. Every song was terrible. The band played terrible. And it was because of the constant changing of the arrangements. Mid-song, in the heat of the moment, and nobody in the band knows what the hell is going on. It got to the point where it was insanity. I'm in the bridge, somebody else is in the chorus, somebody else is in the verse. And God knows where he's singing, what part of the song he's singing. Anyways, as you can imagine, the whole gig was a bust. And I was really pissed off, especially when being a professional, you always want to play well, you always want to do well. And I was really pissed off. So at the end of, I think the second set, I was fed up, honestly, fed up. And I went to Dave and I said, Dave, what the fuck are you doing? Why do you keep changing the songs? Just play the arrangements. He gives me the old, it's my band, I do what I want. If you don't like it, you don't have to be here. Are you kidding me? Where the hell did this come from? I'm getting this attitude from him on the gig. And I just said, look, man, I can't work like this. And he says, well, you know what you can do, right? So the third set goes, he just does the same shit that he did in the first two sets. It was a freaking nightmare. End of the night, the icing on the cake for me was, of course, we did not do an encore. The audience didn't really care for us, unfortunately. The whole night was a bust, like I said. And the end of the night, one of the employees of the venue, I don't know what his position was exactly, but he comes in and he's laughing, literally laughing at us and says, you're the worst band I've ever seen perform here. And he's laughing at us. Well, this was really devastating to me because I've always prided myself on being a musician where people enjoy listening to the band, enjoy listening to me play. And this was really, it tore my heart open, you know? So I told Dave that I was not happy. This is bullshit. You can't do this. And we had 2 more nights to go at this particular venue in Barrie. It was a 3-nighter. And I'm like, you know, we can't do this. You just stick to the arrangements. This isn't the way we learned the songs. You're changing everything. It's screwing everything up. Now, I wasn't getting a lot of support from my other bandmates, which really also upset me. Because as I'm kind of raging at him in the green room area of the venue, which is where the bands go after they're done playing, I'm not getting any support. He's basically not happy with me because, you know, I'm the hired guy. Well, the hired guy is getting humiliated on stage by this asshole. Okay, so we leave. But like I said, it was a 3-nighter. So I left all my gear there and I leave. As I'm driving home, I lived in Burlington at the time, and this gig was in Barrie. As I'm driving home, I'm thinking to myself, do I want to do this? Do I want to be in this band? And, and I'm like, I guess I'll just do the next 2 nights, but it's embarrassing for me to show up when the guy's saying stuff like, you're the worst band we've ever seen here. Ha, 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 ha. So, anyways. Okay, so the gig goes bad. You guys understand all that. But there's another part to this. The next day I get up and there's something wrong with my teenage daughter. So my daughter, Alyssa, she developed this sickness, which she'd had for a couple days, but it got really bad Saturday morning where she stiffened right up. Her whole body stiffened up and she basically couldn't move. So I had to call an ambulance. She was taken to the hospital, to Burlington Hospital on Lakeshore. For those of you that know the area I'm talking about, on Lakeshore Road in Burlington. Take her to the hospital, and she's stiff. We don't know what the hell's wrong with her. She can't loosen up. Her muscles are all super tight. She's having trouble speaking, etc., etc. It's a nightmare. So, take her to the hospital. Of course, it doesn't matter unless you're having an actual heart attack. It takes forever to get seen at a hospital, even 17 years ago. So I think I took her there. I can't remember what time we got there, but I'm gonna guess it was around 11 or 12. Now, keep in mind, I got a gig tonight. Around 2 or 3 in the afternoon, something like that, she finally gets seen. And of course, I'm there with her the whole time. This is my daughter. So she gets seen and they, say that she's dehydrated and she needs salts, and they're trying to figure out what's wrong with her. Now, I can't remember exactly what they did specifically. I just remember that they gave her some kind of treatment to try and loosen her up, which didn't work. And she was in a lot of pain, and she was totally like this, totally her whole body. It was crazy. And they didn't know what was wrong with her. I didn't know what to do. So I had to make the decision. Am I going to abandon my daughter, who is in a very difficult medical situation, and cancel the gig? Go to the gig. So I'm abandoning my daughter and I go to play this gig that was a nightmare the night before. Or am I going to call Dave and cancel the gig? Now, if it wasn't for the fact that my daughter was ill and hospitalized and in a very difficult medical situation, and the doctors are trying to figure it out, if she was in a hospital but she was going to be okay and they'd straighten it out and whatever, I probably still would have gone and done the gig, because that's what pros do. But because of the medical situation that had arisen, I decided to call and cancel the gig. Now, what do you think? Because of what had happened the night before, what do you think Dave thought? Well, he immediately thought that I was being an asshole, that I was so pissed off at the fact that we did not play well the night before, that I was embarrassed and traumatized and all this other crap. He immediately turns to, "You can't do this to me." So he thought I was making the sickness up for my daughter, which I'm telling you right now, 100%, I did not make that up. I called and canceled the gig totally legitimately, and I'm sure all of you guys out there can understand. Your daughter is in a difficult medical situation. You got to be there for her. I couldn't leave her. I'm her father. I couldn't leave her. So I have this heated conversation with Dave, because he's calling me every name in the book. And he's like, "You're going to screw us up, because if I cancel this gig, we're never going to play there again." And I said to him, "You're never going to play there again anyways, with the way you played the night before anyways." And anyways, it ended up with him hanging up on me because he was so angry. But I'm sure you guys can understand why I did what I did. I never would do that under normal situations. I've driven in ridiculous snowstorms to gigs, ice storms, gigs that I should never have gotten into a vehicle to go to because of weather, and I still did it. I can remember being deathly ill, throwing up on the gig, but I still showed up, set up, and played. But for this particular thing, I had to stay with my daughter. So the next day, of course, I ended up staying in the hospital with her, and she got sorted out eventually. She was in the hospital for a few days, but she got sorted out. I did not attend either one of those gigs. So I canceled for both of them. I actually don't know what he did. I don't know if he canceled or got a sub. I'm not sure. I can't remember. And I don't want to make things up for the story. So I can't remember, because I know you're going to say, well, what happened? Did he cancel the gig or did he do it? I can't remember. So he did call me, though, after the gig was over to inform me that I was fired, which I knew was coming because he was so pissed off about the situation. He thought I made the whole thing up. And I told him straight up, look, man, I did not make this up. My daughter was ill, still is ill, because even though she loosened up a bit, she was still really, really tight. Like I said, she stayed in hospital for days until they sorted it out. Now, eventually, it sort of went away. And she's never had that problem since. And she's 37 years old now, and she's probably 16 at the time. She never had that problem since. So it was a really weird situation. We don't know to this day what happened to her, or why she had that, or whatever. Don't know. Just a weird situation. Try to convince Dave that I'm on the up and up. He wouldn't have it. He was calling me every name imaginable, and he was really pissed off. Now, fast forward to me being a band leader, I can understand why Dave was pissed off. But at the same time, there was no compassion for my daughter in any way, shape, or form. He didn't give a shit. And it reminds me of the scene in the new Elvis Presley movie where Elvis passes out, he collapses on the floor, and the Colonel's only comment is, I don't care what you do, but you get that boy on that stage and you make sure he gets out there and performs. And I kind of got that vibe from him. When I watched that Elvis movie, it made me think of that time, 17, 18 years ago, where that actually happened to me. It was almost as if, I don't care if your daughter is in the hospital and she's suffering some form of sickness or illness or whatever. You're going to drive here, you're going to leave her, you're going to drive here, and you're going to play this gig. I'm sorry, but family first, people. Family first. And I stand by that to this day. If that was to happen to me again, I would be there for my daughter no matter what. So I got fired from the gig. But in hindsight, I remember actually being relieved. When I think back, I can remember being relieved because I'm thinking, why do I want to play in this band with a guy that is so unorganized musically? I don't know what he's going to do on stage. He makes me nervous. So I overcame nerves as a musician and performance anxiety and all that. But when you're performing with a guy that you don't know what the hell he's going to do on stage, and you're in the heat of the moment, you don't know what he's going to do, well, that creates nervousness. So I thought, this is a blessing in disguise. So yes, I got fired. Yes, it sucks. Yeah, I got to go and audition, find another band. But in the long run, and at that time, I'm thinking, in the long run, things are going to work out. And they did. I mean, that was just one incident. I never spoke to that person again. I have no idea what happened to that band. That was the end of it. Just got fired after that gig, and that was the end of it. So what can I say, guys? I know it sounded crazy, but I'm telling you that this is the truth. This is exactly what happened. And I did not turn on that band. I still would have gone and done those gigs. Even if he was doing what he was doing, I still would have finished up with that band. And I probably would have quit after that, though, to be totally honest. After that, those 3 shows, and nothing would have changed. He probably would have done the same thing on night 2 and night 3, despite the fact that he knows that it's probably not the best thing to do. I don't even understand what was motivating him and why he was doing that. I remember him saying something, and I understand this, but he was doing it all wrong. He would say, I'm feeling out the crowd and I'm going with their vibe. So, for example, I didn't know where the songs were going to end because he changed the arrangement. And he would kept doing this. Well, that's the only signal I ever got. That means keep going. So we're on a vamp, You know, we're doing, let's say the vamp is normally 4 or 8 bars at the end of a song. You know, when they repeat the chorus over and over and over, that's what a vamp is. So you're repeating the ending. Quite often these things can go on. Hey Jude goes on forever. On and on and on and on, right? Well, I didn't know when the song was going to end. All the songs had rehearsed, pre-rehearsed endings, as any band would do. But keep going, keep going, keep going. I'm like, when the hell am I going to end? And then no signal to end, he would just stop. And I'm like, and of course, the endings weren't tight because I didn't know. No signal, you know, nothing. This is the ending signal. Did I get that? No, I did not. Or even this. That signal. Any kind of an ending signal from him, because he was the one that kept telling us to go on and on and on, I wasn't getting it. So the endings weren't tight. It was a nightmare. So I don't have any regrets about quitting that band. So after the gig is all said and done, and I'm available to actually drive to Barrie, I go up there to get my drums because, you know, I've got an expensive drum kit and I'm certainly not leaving that there. I can remember asking some other guys in the band if they would pick it up for me, which didn't happen. So I drove up to Barrie and my drums were pushed off to the side of the stage, somewhat disassembled, but, you know, not completely. I had to pack it all up, of course. And then I just packed all my drums up and I left and nothing was missing. Everything was fine with the drums because I was really worried about that too, because people get pissed off at you and they do crazy things. But I got the drums and then just came back home after that. When I got home, shortly after I got home, that was when I got the call saying that I was fired. It was a little bit of a heated conversation, the firing. I tried to say my side of the whole thing. He wouldn't have anything of it, you know? And I stupidly never asked anybody if the show continued. What happened? To this day, I don't know if they played or got canceled or whatever. Got a sub. I'm guessing he got a sub, because my drums were pushed off to the side, like I said, which would suggest that some other drum kit was there. But I'm not exactly sure. Anyways, guys, that's my story for today. And I want to thank you guys I've had some really great comments lately about how much you guys are enjoying the channel and you enjoy the stories. And I've got some interesting stories coming up. I'm going to do a little bit of playing soon. Not today because my hand is sore. I don't think I've ever talked about this for quite some time, but if you look back on some of my older videos, I had hand surgery and my hand is kind of bugging me, so I haven't been able to really play a lot. Even though I can teach and I can play for short duration teaching and stuff, but I can't really do any long, you know, drawn out playing or anything. So I'm kind of trying to take it easy. And I don't want to, you know, cause my hand to get any worse than it already is, that's for sure. So I'm just going to take a break from playing, and you guys can see here, I don't know if you can see my hand or not, but as you can see, I got a bump here and it's swollen and it's sore. So I'm trying to take it easy. So like I said, I want to thank all you guys for your comments. I've had some really great, inspiring comments, inspiring to keep me doing these stories. I got lots more. I got some crazy stories coming up, really crazy. I got some fun stories, you know, I got all kinds of things. And I also want to thank commenters that were giving me some ideas in terms of, hey, how about a story about blah, 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 something that you've done or who you've met or who you've hung out with or whatever. So to those people that made those sort of requests or giving me some ideas, I am going to be putting some videos together for that too. All right, guys, as always, keep drumming. See ya.